flu. Okay. Hi, Gina. Hi, Tanya. Hi, John. Hi, Robin. Christina. Anthony. Is that you?
No,
The
that's not me.
different
That's a
Anthony.
different Anthony. But you turn your camera?
Oh, I forgot my camera. Oh, I don't even show myself. I don't have me on my screen anymore. I'm much happier that way. Oh, now I'm there.
Oh, I'll check that.
All right. All right. Am I up there now? I can't see. I mean, I could if I turned my whole body. Tal. Okay, first, before I talk to Tal, where's your mind this morning? Randy's is here. That's a good start, isn't it?
Yep.
So we do want to make sure, check where your mind is. If your mind's out in the future or back in the past, try to bring it to the present, you know. And if it's worried about something, try to let go of that worry for a moment. Right now, you're here, sitting here. There's nothing you can do to solve some problem you have somewhere else, you know. To try to be comfortable sitting here, which I know is difficult because these aren't the most comfortable seats. But you chose to be here, might as well relax. So think about the reason you decided to show up. Doesn't matter what the reason is. But generate an intention to use your time well based on that reason. So if you're curious, you might want to set the intention to listen well. You're here for community. Then you might set the intention to be aware of the others here. How you can be of benefit to them. And for whatever reason we're here, we make the wish to be of benefit to our minds, our way of thinking, and then it ripples out to benefit those around us. My co-host Anthony, are you gonna put up the?
Yeah.
So we'll recite some prayers, starting on page 34 in the prayer book, up on the screen. See. Thank you. So to recite the four immeasurables, these are four immeasurable minds. It starts with the mind of love, the mind, and then goes to the mind of compassion, the mind of sympathetic joy, or the wish that beings achieve a state of joy that is always separated from sorrow. And finally, equanimity, where we have this wish for all sentient beings, not just for those that we like. So it's helpful to start with someone, to bring real people to mind so that the words can touch the heart, not just, not just words that you're repeating. So you want to have try to send out that energy of love and compassion. And then you just try to increase that circle of concern. The good news is our heart, our mind can it can't be filled. Let's put it that way. There's enough room for everyone. So the first line, may all sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. In Buddhism, the wish that others have happiness and its causes is the mind of love. It's that simple. Second line, may all sentient beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. And this is the mind of compassion. And it's great compassion when you can have it for all beings with a mind, all sentient beings. The next line, may all sentient beings be inseparable from the happiness that is free from suffering. So this is that mind that is, first of all, an antidote to jealousy, that mind that can genuinely be happy for someone else's happiness, but also that wish that that happiness is completely free from suffering, everlasting happiness. And the last line, may all sentient beings abide in equanimity, free from attachment for friends and hatred for enemies. So this is that reminder that it's our biased mind that leaves people out. And we really want to include everyone in these wishes. We don't have to like people to wish them well. We don't have to agree with people to wish them well. It has nothing to do with that. It's this recognition that if people are free of suffering, then they won't act from a suffering point of view. So it's we're all better off if everyone comes from a place of happiness and not suffering. And we'll turn to the Refuge and Bodhicitta prayer on page 98. Obviously, if you're not, you do not have to recite this if you're just here out of curiosity. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. I go for refuge until I'm enlightened to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Supreme Assembly. By the merits I create through listening to the Dharma, may I become a Buddha in order to benefit all sentient beings. Thanks, Anthony. Okay, I wanted to go back to the question that was asked during class last week about what do you do if during a teaching you hear something from the teacher that you feel like it's just not Buddhist at all. If that's the right way to phrase it. So, and like I said, I mean, one of the things that we have to remember is that just because we listening to a teaching doesn't mean the person speaking the teaching is necessarily a Buddha. So they, then not everything comes out of their mouth in that's perfect. But also, and we're encouraged to investigate. I was just reading in a text the other day, I think by Geshe Sopa, that sometimes teachers will throw out things, make sure you investigate, so it's just like, so we should investigate what's being said, and then it's really fair game to even ask. I don't understand, I don't follow how that fits into the Buddhist teachings, so that gives us an opportunity to really um, go deeper into our understanding and the ways of investigation, because of course it's jarring when we hear something. I remember it being when I was living in Australia, and I guess the Iraq war was going on, or Iraq invasion, whatever. And my teacher said something about, well, you can't expect people to, that if that the Hussein family should just continue doing what they're doing, because we were trying to stop them, and eventually I think their whole family was killed. I don't know, but and I really was like, huh, okay, that's interesting. But but then I remembered that the Tibetan government, which of course His Holiness was the head of at the time, back in '59 and those years, early years of the Chinese occupation, asked the U.S. for help in training the military. Well, they actually asked for more help than that, but what they got was our military going over there to help train soldiers. Many monks gave up their robes in order to pick up rifles. So we had this is complicated stuff, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So we really have to not get sucked into some sort of idea of absolutes, of that the only right thing to do here is this or this, or and accept a certain, I don't know, I don't understand that choice, and sit with uncertainty, which we also don't like. So it's kind of, and we don't have to agree just because your teacher said so, and that could be challenging, can it? No, not challenging. It's, yeah.
It goes back to that word equanimity.
Yes, it comes back to that word equanimity.
And if you try to practice, know that.
Yeah.
Agree to disagree?
Yes. So equanimity is a state of mind that helps with this, of just, I remember one time I was studying logic, which is a very hard subject in, Tibetan logic. And I remember thinking there was going to be a weekend course that my teacher would teach during the week, but also it would have a whole, weekend of teachings. And I'm studying logic during the week. I'm going, I don't get this. If this is what's supporting the system, I'm not sure I buy this. I was a little worried about that. So I asked permission to not go to the weekend teaching so I could study up. And by the end of the weekend, I kind of came to the conclusion that I don't understand this. So why should I judging it already? So, I had to step back from it and really see that I'm not really understanding this whole picture, so give it more time. And that's the best advice I've ever had in Buddhism, was to put things, when you have doubts arise, and if you can't resolve the doubt, to put it on the shelf and go back to it later, to keep taking it down, checking it out some more with your new information, as you learn more, and then, address it again. Because there are a lot of wild stuff in the teachings, I mean, I don't know about you, but past and future lives is kind of like, oh, that's a challenging thought. So, there's a lot of that kind of stuff. Karma is quite challenging, and only a Buddha can completely understand karma, which doesn't seem fair. But you have to have perfect wisdom to understand karma. So anyway, yeah, Randy.
My question is, how could a monk who was raised from a little child, if they go into the monastery when they're young, not to kill an ant, how could someone like that pick up a rifle?
Have you seen the guards that carry rifles around His Holiness? Well, they do. People want to protect others. People want to protect families. People want to protect their country. Where does that come from?
Let's protect the child.
I guess a self-grasping.
Self-grasping. Just because, I mean, like, all right, I've been a nun now for, I don't know, over 20 years. Do I still self-grasp? Oh, yes. We're not Buddhas yet. And so if someone thinks, like His Holiness has said, if he was asked, is there any time that you would consider killing someone who's trying to kill you? So the only time he says he can even imagine, and he's not sure he would do it then, is if he was the last person on the planet who could teach the Dharma. Now, do I think that that fits with the Buddhist teachings? I don't know. I have doubt. And I have doubt that he'd do it. But, I mean, so there's no simple anything. Everything depends. And that what it depends upon is a lot. When you think about all the causes and conditions that have to come together for there to be a war in the first place. This is complex stuff. And it's not, I mean, forget about the complexity of governments and blah, blah, blah. That's just some sort of mess, that we create. But you just start with one mind. If you look in your mind, it's already a mess. Try to combine it with 7 billion or 8 billion other people. This is difficult.
It's a soup. A soup.
A soup, yes. And sometimes not such a great tasting one. So, but it's an important question. When you hear things that you think, I don't know about that, you really do want to investigate. What does that mean? It means trying to read more on that particular subject. What does it mean? How can somebody, who's raised their whole life not to kill anything? Well, now they're threatened. They've never been threatened before. It's like when you're facing death. You think, oh, I got a handle on this. And then, the doctor says, you don't really know how you're going to react until that moment arises. So this is the thing. I mean, so it's just, it's all, it's an opportunity for more learning, not an opportunity to judge. So. Okay, any other questions with this topic? Because I have another topic. Hello, over there. Okay. So I think it was maybe it was last week, maybe it was, who knows, maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't know. But at some point I said something to the effect of, I've been talking about the importance of trying to discipline ourselves to meditate, or at least reflect, for a couple of minutes every day, that we really, that the more we try to develop a mind that listens to us, you want your mind to listen to you, the more we can make choices about our actions of body and speech, all this kind of stuff. So, and even disciplining ourselves to just sit and watch our breath is a helpful tool to do just that. Just keep telling yourself, okay, I'm not focused on my breath. I'm off in the ozone. Come back, come back, come back, and back. So, but I was listening to something today about how we can integrate our intention setting throughout the day, as we've talked about how can we conjoin our life with these mental activities to help us feel like we have some control over our reactions to things. So, and often you'll hear about mindfulness to do that, right? That you be mindful. People here have heard about my toothbrushing practice where, I mindfully go from tooth to tooth, and da 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 da. Can't get much more boring than that. But you can also couch it, what Lama Zopa Rinpoche does in his Bodhisattva attitude or Bodhicitta attitude. I don't know what he calls it. Bodhisattva attitude. Bodhisattvas are beings who have this 24/7 mind that want to become enlightened for the benefit of others. So everything that they do, they're thinking in terms of that. Oh, but this could be closer to enlightenment to benefit others. So brushing your teeth, where does that fit in? You have to figure that out. This is so cool, is that you try to figure out, okay, I'm brushing my teeth. Why am I doing that? So why do you brush your teeth?
To keep your mouth in good condition and also to not have BO, like bad smelling breath.
Why? Why do we care?
To not disturb other people.
With the bad breath, how about our health? Why do we care?
Because in the long term, it could be painful. It could cause a lot of time, money, make your own life harder. And if your own life's harder, it'd be harder to benefit others.
See, that's the steps we can take as we keep going to where we find something that's about connection, something that's about how are we doing this with respect to others, So with brushing our teeth, a really good reason is, to help take care of our health, because we've all found out that, gingivitis is terrible for heart disease and blah, blah, blah. And because we want, fresh smelling breath for someone, because that doesn't always work with brushing your teeth. You might have to go to the doctor to find out more information. So, but you try to couch it. Oh yeah, I'm doing this. We do better with motivations that feel meaningful. So if we can couch it, like if you have grandchildren or something, oh, I want to be healthy so I can live long enough to see my grandchildren grow up, or I just want to be healthier so I can participate in their lives more, that kind of thing. So then we can go on to why do we take a shower? You caught on to the method here? So you ask yourself, why do I take a shower? So you try to recognize, of course we do it for ourselves. But do you think that if you're the last person on the planet, you take a shower? A large part of why we do it is for others, because we're going to be seen by someone else. How many people skip a shower when they don't have any place to go? No one here. Oh, volunteer. I've lived in places where you had to just use rainwater, and let me tell you, you don't want to waste it. So, and again, it's one of those choices we make, but not in isolation, is it? It's not just about us. It's about us in relation to others. And that's how we can make connection in our daily stuff. Working, same way. We work because obviously that's our method for getting the means to which to eat and feed our families and all that kind of stuff, and have clothes, be able to party. I don't know, but it's this, we that's a method of exchange. We're not growing our food, we're getting the money so we can buy the food, So we need, John. Yes, please. Can you sit down enough? It's distracting. Thank you. You need to leave the room. Okay. Stay put for a minute. I like your shirt. Okay. What was I saying, Jan? Something. What?
Rainwater, showering.
Oh yeah, that was a while ago. Let's keep up.
Isolation.
Work. We've gotten to work. Okay. So when we want to think in terms, because we definitely do these things for ourselves, right? But we also want to think in terms of others, because there is an other involved. We don't just do it for ourselves. So we can turn these activities of daily living into an action that reminds us about compassion and caring for others. Okay. You following that? Yeah, please.
Is it really about caring about the others, or is it really about how would he think of me if I smell?
That's there. That's in there. But why do we care about what he thinks? Because we're social beings. We don't want to be isolated all alone. That makes sense. So we have to, yes, that's going to be in there. Our self-interest is in there, but the more we practice thinking about the other reasons that are in there, we can change the way we view the task, and it becomes lighter. That's the point of it, is to make it, when we find some meaning to it, I'm doing this to benefit others. That, so, we don't, how so many of us hate chores? I might be the only one, Yeah, I'm there. Thank you. So if we can find a way to be content even while we're doing chores, does that improve our day? So it becomes an activity that is meaningful. And then those tasks that you just can't find any meaning to do, and you find that you really don't need to do them, guess what? You can stop doing them. And then you go, oh, I have a little more time. And that's helpful. But this is the same kind of thing as a meditation. It's a reflection, it's an investigative reflection on how we can be a benefit to others doing what we already do. Okay, what are the obstacles to that?
Some people may not like what we do.
Yes, that's one obstacle. Some people might not be and so how can we work with that? No one has an idea of how to work with that.
These people might have authority over it.
Yeah, and so sometimes we have to do things because we depend on somebody, like our boss, the people who pay our paycheck. Okay. So how can we turn that around into something that we accept and just, we're okay with? I'm sorry, I still didn't hear you.
You can offer that as part of even.
Yes, that this is part of what you're offering to your work, you know? It's also, you can, yeah,
Think about your team. If you don't do it, it's gonna be more work.
for other people on your team. Yep, so that you've got that. You can appreciate your paycheck. You know, that this, you can think about all the things that it allows you to do. You know, and that comes from, you know, this layer of you know, of the business, whatever, depending on how big it is, but you know, whatever, that this is part of a whole. It's not just you against, you know, everybody else. This is a working system. And what if you know, if you have trouble, you know, you try to talk to your boss about it, you investigate. Why is this, you know, I'm not understanding, you know. Now, do we have to understand everything that we need to do? Right. Well, we can make it meaningful. Like if we, you know, if we disagree about, you know, the thing, but we have to keep in mind that if we're not the boss, then we have to, you know, it's give and take, isn't it, in the world? No.
And there was a time where people didn't get paid, but there was a bartering system.
Yeah, and we're not in that.
Mm.
Yeah, you're correct.
I wish
Well,
I had, oh, go ahead.
Yeah, there was a bartering system, so it wasn't like it is when you work, you get paid for it. So you give him the work and he pays you for it.
Same with the bartering system.
Yeah.
You grow some food and so you can trade for some lumber.
But then when you have a question about something, who is then the authority to ask?
Well, this is what, you know, this is when you have a boss, that's set up in the system, you know.
And even when you're your own boss, you have clients.
Yeah,
So
oh yeah,
so
nobody's,
there's going to be authorities over you, but they have some sort of.
we
you
have
reliance.
choice.
Yeah, you have reliance on them.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we can all walk away from our job, our benefactor, you know, all that kind of stuff. Are there risks involved in that? Okay. Is it anybody's fault that there are risks involved in that? I mean, it's even in bartering, right? If you kind of go, oh, they're not giving me enough lumber for this corn. I had great come up with great
So,
farm.
but the necessity for somebody to mediate has always been there.
Yeah, that's why my father decided to become a lawyer.
But
He said there's always work for lawyers.
in a tribe, for example.
Yeah. So and that's what happens even in work.
Yeah.
You know, often we're not dealing with the big boss. We have intermediate bosses. And then we could go above them, or we go to HR, you know, there are all these ways, you know. We have unions too, that's right. So that we've come up with methods to negotiate, you know. One of the main methods is just that conversation you have when someone, you know, asks you to do something. And if you kind of really, you know, like think about how much work has changed in my lifetime, you know, like people, you know, I remember being so jealous and angry of my older brother when he was in college. He decided to take a semester off work, off of school, and he was working for some company that created the test or something for his university, for something, you know, all those guys. But anyway, he could work whenever he wanted. He just had to do the work, but he could do it any time of day, night, blah, blah, blah. He was a computer, you know, person, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I thought, you don't know what work is. You know, he's telling you have to show up to this and that. I was really quite envious. So, and I really felt like he didn't know what working was really like. But now that's quite common.
My brother.
Yeah, Okay, you know, so that's quite common. And the basis of that is because of the technology we have. You know, not every job can work that way. It wouldn't work. You know, it's like I want a massage from an actual person, you know, and so we have to work out a schedule, you know. So um, this is the thing though, but we're this interconnected organism that's, that makes things happen. So if we can appreciate, that's one of the things, we can appreciate that we have a means with which to support ourselves, so and some days you're not going to like the work, some days you'll like the work, maybe never you'll like the work, but you appreciate the fact that it's a means for you to be able to get what you need, right? So that's one way to change the fact that, you don't get to decide, but you can decide how you respond. That this is something, I had a massage therapist who had this thing, I did her bookkeeping. She had this thing on her wall that said, about how appreciating the fact that this is what she gets to do for others so that she can, feed her child and all this kind of stuff. Because she too had to be reminded that, hey, because, after a little while, it's our job, not an, what do you call it? A calling. Yeah, Debbie.
You could you could investigate how to develop skills to even talk to the person better.
To negotiate.
Improve, yeah.
Yeah.
Listen and not be aggressive or other.
Absolutely. So yes, there's skills about all of this.
Also, I was thinking that it's an opportunity, I don't work anymore, so. Thankfully, I don't have any bosses, but I wish I had known this before. It's a opportunity to use compassion and patience and et cetera in your interaction. I mean, that alone would probably make things better.
Yeah.
With your boss.
And then what you can think about is this is a way to develop skills you want to have, or you like people who have them. So you admire those skills. So you said this is an opportunity to develop them. I would like to be the person who doesn't care about what what the boss wants me to do, because, they look like they enjoy their work more. So I'd like to be able to, kind of find my way to feeling like I can talk about it, so we can see, so I can understand better what the purpose is. But sometimes you're never going to understand it. But the main thing is if we can connect the dots between what we're doing and the bigger picture for what is meaningful to ourselves, we suffer less. And it motivates us to keep doing it, keep trying it. So it's this recognition that just because someone can tell you what to do, or they're in charge or something, does not mean that everything goes their way. So having compassion for their situation, it is also appropriate. Because we're all, this is the thing. It's like, I don't want to be president of the United States. Don't want the job. Thank you very much. So it's an appreciation for people who are willing to take that on. And also the desire that if I wanted to be run a certain way, that I get involved in trying to find out who are the best candidates for that. Et cetera, et cetera. And I vote. So, it's just this process, but it's remembering that everything we do all day long can be understood in ways that are more valuable or valued by each of us. And that can help us, be less stressed, less, whatever your form of resistance is. So, yeah, John.
we say when people who are in charge of you, when things don't always go their way, and you think it's your fault that things don't go their way. So how could you kind of
I've
deal
lost
with
track.
that?
Okay, so say you do something, so I do something and the people don't like what I did, or it
Like
doesn't.
you do something and the people in charge of you like don't like what you did and they suffer because of what you did. But,
Yeah,
but
well,
you're just kind of
you didn't
but
mean
like
to
you
cause that.
didn't realize at all that
Right,
which I
right.
caused harm. Like how much you forgive yourself.
You can 100% you can forgive yourself because we really don't know outcomes, but we can learn from situations. Like when we realize, oh, this really caused some suffering. Let me think about how I fit in there, what my choices were, and how can I do this differently in the future so so I don't cause hurt and suffering. Because we're gonna make mistakes, and we're gonna make choices that end up harming without any intention to do that. I mean, parenting is like that, isn't it? As if you were parents, you make all sorts of things and think about the future therapy bills. This is it. So it's just, but I mean, it really is just like, whenever we make mistakes, we only have to own our part of the fact that maybe we didn't think it through. But now we have new information that helps us understand better how the other people might feel, and that might change our choices in the future. But we can't please everybody either. That's never going to happen either. So it's really about taking responsibility for our choices, but also understanding that, like sometimes we're in a situation like, my parents took great joy in reminding us that when we came home for the holidays or whatever, it was their house and we had to follow their rules. And it was like fair enough, it's just that kind of thing. Of course, it didn't feel fair at the time, but there it was. So it's we don't make choices solely on the way others are going to react. Like compassion isn't in that. Plus, we have to have compassion for ourselves. So sometimes we make choices that other people are not going to be really comfortable with. We might be able to talk to them about it and explain from our point of view, but we're just not going to please everybody all the time. And that's okay. But when we actually harm someone from our actions, we want to go further to try to, help with that harm, heal it in some way, and also try not to do it again. But that doesn't necessarily mean changing our actions. It may mean changing the way in which we go about that.
It's mindfulness.
It's mindfulness
Constantly.
and compassion. It's the two together. And love. It's the wish that the others around you are happy, the wish that they're free of suffering, the wish that we are free of suffering, the wish that we are happy, and mindfulness. So that we're paying attention to what's going on within ourselves and what we see around us. So research is showing that compassion is the key to lowering our stress, to feeling, making our life more meaningful, is coming from an angle of compassion. So mindfulness is not enough. Yeah.
I've been thinking, what you're saying today, that a big thing for me in reflecting now is the lack of gratitude on my part. Even so, just focusing on what isn't, what's not happening, as opposed to focusing on everything that it is happening that is right, and that it would
Right.
make me happier and those around me.
That's why appreciation is in there, and this idea, like we use the word rejoicing a lot in Tibetan Buddhism, it's saying, it's this idea of like, wow, when we can think about all the things that we have that others don't have, or just that bring us joy, and just appreciating that we have those moments, as well as, like you said, worry can distract us from what's going right. Okay. So it gets in the way, it's an obstacle. So there's and I point this out a lot. I'm sorry if it's repetitive, but worry and problem solving are not the same. Worry is basically thinking I can't do anything about it, so I'm just going to worry. That's not going to make you happy. If you can problem solve, then that's, you might come up with a solution to whatever it is you're worried about. If you can't solve the problem, what good is worry? So when you think about that, what harm does worry do to others? What does it do to others?
So it can make you
How do you
unpleasant to
treat
be-
others that you're worried about?
Make you unpleasant to be around. Like if I'm worried about something, preoccupied, my family, my partner, they can't get through to me, or maybe I'm more prone to lash out. Well,
Yeah, it can affect our impatience. It can affect our ability to even notice. Yes, Graciela.
There's no room for the other person.
There's no room. You're occupied with your worry.
It can manifest as like manipulation.
Yes, you could try to manipulate things. Yes, absolutely. So worry does hurt us. There's no question about it. But it also has an impact on the others. Have you ever seen kids kind of go, "Oh, don't worry so much, Mom," and you got to go, "It's my job." So it's, but that's a hint that your worry is affecting, the person you're worried about. It's like, it's not necessarily in a good way. It's like, and nagging often comes from that, but that's the manipulation aspect as well. So we really want to recognize, and of course, that doesn't mean we'll just stop worrying, but we can instead work on how can I prepare myself if this doesn't work out for my kid, and I'm going to be there to support them if it all blows up in their face. That might be more productive than worry, where you're really thinking about benefiting them. But yeah, time.
Sometimes we worry that we're in a rush about solving it. And time can help you to find not only peace, but the answer comes back little by little, more information added. And you see that with time, you let things go low, and it happens that you worry too much.
This comes back to that pause. If we give ourselves time to, let wisdom come into our thought process, all this kind of different compassion, love, new solutions might bubble up, and also just new ways of responding to someone. If we can remember that I really care about the happiness of this person, then maybe we can quit about our worries for a second and express that affection, without smothering. Because that's just like worrying that comes in
But it's projecting something bad is going to happen. So where's it's not a positive flow if you worry.
right, because that's what you generally worry indicates, that you think something bad is going to be the result. Yes. So why spread that energy? Yeah. That's why I said I can shift your focus to how can I be supportive if things don't work out? So yeah,
Well, I don't want to get too personal here.
yeah,
but
please don't.
yeah, it's not only a little bit. Just like I remember the first emotion I remember feeling in my entire life was worry at 2 years old when
Mhm.
I messed up my room and I thought my grandma would hit me, but she didn't.
She didn't, yeah. So that's another thing about worry, isn't it? Is often we're worried about something and we're wrong about
Yeah, and I was wrong about that. Like 2 year old me, like my
Yep.
grandma didn't get me in trouble. She
Yeah.
just laughed and cleaned it up.
it. Yeah, that's how I felt when the first time I had a car wreck, and I thought my dad was going to kill me. But nobody was like, is everybody okay? Da, da, da. My mother was really pissed at that.
Yeah.
She wanted him to have a different response. But yeah, I mean, this is what's funny because we come with that. If a 2-year-old is worried, that's probably a habit that came with him, and this is what kids are not blank slates, they come with stuff, now. And our sense of survival is very strong as a child because we literally are dependent on the adults around us to live. And there's a part of us that knows that. There's a physiological knowledge of that, that, these people who feed us, we need to make them happy so that they'll keep feeding us. So it's just, it's a natural response when you're that dependent, which is why we spend so much of our lives trying to become independent. We don't like it. And this gets back to that uncertainty thing. We don't like being uncertain, and uncertainty. The irony is, of course, everything's uncertain. In all moments, it's uncertain. It literally, we can't know that the next moment doesn't hold an earthquake for us. Just as an example, New Zealand has like 28,000 earthquakes a year. Does that shock anybody else? Anyway,
Shakes.
Oh.
bad. So these are things that we need to, if we become more self-aware, we'll start spotting in ourselves. We'll kind of go, oh, I hate not knowing the outcome here. And we just don't like it, that feeling, but the reality is we never know what the outcome is going to be. And many times that we suffer leads to great transformation. So it's not necessarily a bad thing that things don't work in the way we expect, or that we have to have a challenge that we have to respond to. But part of that works if we've already got a habit of how to make this meaningful. If we've got the habit of making our daily life meaningful, it means that when something is upsetting our daily life, a routine, we can respond in a more constructive way to it because we've already got that way of thinking about things. How can I be of help? How does this fit? How does this how can I make this meaningful and not just this catastrophic mess? So we know that in big catastrophes, a lot of people, what is their go-to is helping others. And, we're all very appreciative that they exist. So that's good news, so it's this way of being able to come at things from an angle that sees ourselves as these isolated units that are trying to cope with way too much, and instead an interdependent member of like a team, of a group, and try to participate in that. Yeah.
one thing that's helped me with worry and anxiety, it's always about a future event,
Yes.
is the focus, which I learned here, on present moment.
Yeah. Come back to what's happening right now. So if we get hooked, if we're drawn away into some big fear that keeps getting bigger, 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 we have to, it's helpful to come back to what's happening right now. What's happening in this moment. And then accepting that you don't know what's going to happen in that future moment. But that if you can take care of this moment, maybe that future moment will be manageable. The more that we develop our confidence that we can handle things moment to moment to moment to moment, the less whatever's happening in that moment overwhelms us. That's always happening because some events are more, startling than others. So it's but it's definitely true that the more we've got the sense that I can handle what's happening, we feel like we can handle what's happening. And it's a habit. It becomes this habit. Just like if right now your habit is I can't handle what's happening. I don't know what I'm doing. That lends itself to having that habit in response to anything that's going awry. That a word? So working with our minds is all about moments. Mental events are moments, and change is just moment. Each moment has this opportunity. Oh, let me see what this moment holds and how I can choose to respond to it. And that takes a lot of awareness, just to being able to kind of go notice those moments as they zoom past us, but our mind can keep up. Yes, Graciela.
And also, I think that everything is relative and interconnected. So if I'm aware that I'm thinking something is like really terrible, and then I see somebody else who's way worse,
Yeah.
then I go, oh,
What am I so worried about?
really?
Yeah. And those of us with good conditions really need to make use of that, because we can get overwrought over things that have to do with, oh, they're out of my favorite ice cream at the store. I mean, why suffer then? That's a bit idiotic, and I'm exaggerating, but but we really need to see that what we're up against 9 times out of 10 is minuscule to compare to what many beings are up against. And we don't have to feel guilty about that, but we might as well enjoy this moment. It's really recognizing that we can appreciate stuff every moment because we have really good conditions, and sometimes we have to, it's really kind of funny because it's like playing a mind game with yourself, just trying to, it's like, when I sit on a cushion and I go, gee, I'm very comfortable, but guess what? It's the best it's ever going to be. Because tomorrow I'll be older, more creaky, So I might as well appreciate it now. I'm still sitting on a cushion. It's these little things of realizing, oh yeah, it doesn't feel like it did 20 years ago. Well, let go of that. It's still the best it's going to be. So, and it was, this is the thing. Aging, we can work with like that. It's just, it's just sort of like, oh, okay, don't know what the next moment holds, but appreciating that this moment, I'm still here. I'm still semi-functional. That's going to have to do. It's going to have to be good enough. Now, sometimes we can do things and get surgery, and then you can blow it. But this is, so it isn't that we just have to accept If we just accept what yes, we want to accept, but we also want to recognize opportunities. There's an opportunity to do something new, different, maybe a better strategy, maybe blah, 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 or just recognize that in this moment I can grow, make my life more meaningful. We like meaning. We don't like feeling superfluous, useless. But we are missing an awful lot of meaning that's already there. And that's from just looking at things from a new angle, recognizing that we are not these individual little units. We are interconnected units. In every moment, we have an opportunity to make things, a little more soft for others. Just by even just that connection we make with others of just, you're not alone here. We're all nuts, whatever. So it's not getting, one of our biggest obstacles, like we said, is what's already going on in our mind, and we're cooked by it, and we forget that there are other people around us. We forget, that it matters what we do in terms of, that. And we're never going to get it perfectly. And that's okay. It's really important to remember that when the people around us don't do it perfectly, and cut each other slack and include yourself in that mix. Yeah.
That, like what you just said there just reminds me, just trying to avoid laziness when others around you are even more lazy. It's just so hard.
Inertia. That's that thing of inertia, it's like that the hardest part is getting the movement started. So this is where we have to go, that inner motivation. We have to find something in our minds, in our hearts, that helps us emulate people we want to be like, not emulate people we don't want to be like. And it's, of course, harder, because, it's hard work to, be admirable. We don't know many admirable people who did nothing to get there. So, it's
Good point.
and the way that is. So and using others is as an excuse to stay stuck, isn't effective. It's not an effective strategy, because then we wake up and go, God, I'm still doing that, or not doing that. And then our New Year's resolutions get very repetitive, and we just can't believe it, So, but it is recognition that we have to go within, that we're not going to always find what we need outside of us, but we usually can find support, if we've created connection. Yeah.
I believe it goes back to what you said, finding purpose. Like, would you like finding purpose in laziness? Is there any purpose in that?
Yeah.
Or moving forward and doing things?
Yeah, exactly. We really need to find the meaning. And if we can't find the meaning, we need to find purpose, like, okay, this doesn't work for me. Let's do something else. So it's and we can get so sucked in, it's so easy to just get sucked into entertainment. I pick up murder mysteries. Total waste of time, in case you haven't figured that out, so, but they're all, we have, it's like, okay, you might find, I listen to podcasts when I take walks, but I really think I listen to pretty good ones, I don't listen to murder mysteries when I take a walk. So, but it's this, so it's not that there's nothing that we can, listen to or read that isn't useful, or movies to see that aren't useful, but we need to really understand that we can drain all our time away doing things that actually don't give us any sense of purpose or meaning. And at the end of the year, we feel like, yeah, I don't know what I did this year, you know. And it's your life we're talking about. So you want to, the more we can incorporate this sense of purpose and meaning throughout our day, and this is why in Buddhism, you'll see all these different versions of verses that you can say to yourself, little slogans or something, with every action, whether you're on the toilet or taking your shower or cleaning your teeth or turning on the tap of water, so that you can really, understand that we're part of this massive whole of beings that are, using resources, that are using, so those are things that are useful, of just, and they work. The reason that they're exercises for monks and nuns and monasteries is because it helps you do this, incorporate this sense of meaning throughout the day, So it's so helpful to pause before you do something new, especially if there's going to be other people involved, in the sense of, you want to connect. And not just walk in with your worries and ignore them all. A week. This comes off in a week, but I have to quit falling off ladders. So, because it may never come off. I slipped off a ladder. It's the stupidest thing. So anyway, I didn't fall down. I fell on all 9,000 pounds of me.
You landed heavily on your feet.
I landed heavily on my feet. That hurts your whole spine. Anyway. Yeah. Hmm? No.
Only should been told.
No, if only I'd listened to that. It's a big difference. Tell me all you want.
Welcome to the world.
Yeah, welcome to my, yes. Anyway, so
As far as laziness goes, I just discovered laziness and the sweetness of it.
Yeah.
Actually.
Well,
after 40 years of working almost
Yeah.
every day. And people were asking me, yeah, but what are you going to do? And I really said, hey, nothing. Why do I have to do something?
Right.
Yeah. So there is a purpose in being lazy as well.
well, there's a purpose in being, it's not, and then you don't want to call it laziness. It's a purpose in being present with you, and that's a very important skill to develop, but it's quite different from just goofing off, which I'm also exceptionally good at. But it's because yes, people miss most of their lives because they're just doing and they're not engaging their inner world with it. So it's just becomes this blur, and we want to have, but these are techniques in order for that not to be what's going on, of being able to bring meaningfulness and purpose, because there's a purpose in being, there's a purpose in rest. There's a purpose in these things that, there's a purpose in fun. When my teacher came, Geshe Gellick, when he came to the States, he's a teacher in North Carolina. He couldn't understand this concept of fun. He would look at us like, what about the state fair is fun? What does that even mean? Going on a Ferris wheel? Are you kidding me? He just, riding a horse. It was just like, what do you mean you just do it for fun? He just had no comprehension of that. And of course he does now, but it's nothing like our usual way of thinking of fun anyway. But it's an interesting recognition that we don't tend to do things balanced. We seem to, it's like we have these concentrated vacation times where we cram in all this fun and come back to work exhausted, and then we don't even remember half the vacation time. So, so all of it, we do need all of it. There's nothing wrong with feeling good. There's nothing wrong, but we want to learn how much good there is to feel with our interconnection. That we don't need entertainment to feel good. We need to feel connected. We need to feel purpose and meaningfulness. And this is why, like just a good friendship matters so much to us, because that fulfills all the boxes, So and you're not doing anything grand. It's the connection that gives it that feel goodness, So so it's not about erasing. What was it, the word that we ran across the other day? Rejoiciation. I'm going through my files, and so rejoiciation showed up, and what does that mean? Well, one of my friends in North Carolina, when she teaches discovering Buddhism, and you get to this part about renunciation, because it's a religion. What can I tell you? There's going to be the word renunciation. And she said, but what are you renouncing? You're renouncing suffering. So why don't we call it rejoiciation instead? And it sort of stuck. So this is the whole Buddhist path is about alleviating suffering. That's what it's about. But what we're wrong, we go about it in an incorrect way because we keep thinking, if I keep protecting the self, and making sure I'm okay, that, and usually what that means is our body's okay, that there's, that somehow that's gives us meaning in life. And it doesn't. It absolutely doesn't. First of all, you're going to die anyway. Take great care of yourself, you're still going to die. So, don't have any grand hopes for what's eternal life. So, but this is, so what the Buddha said is like, we're just mistaken about how to go about it. And we end up chasing suffering. We keep chasing after things that will never last, that will only give us brief, instantaneous, little spark, and then nothing, But creating meaning, understanding that we have these qualities of compassion and love and generosity and patience and kindness. We come with that stuff. And that if we cultivate those attitudes instead of greed and jealousy and, impatience and anger and those things, which we also come with, we can strengthen the things that actually will bring us happiness. And slowly, slowly, the others drop away. There won't be room. Because you can't have them at the same time. Greed and generosity don't exist in the same mind. So it's, Any thoughts?
A lot of thoughts.
Lots of thoughts, I know. As I said, the mind can hold everything. And it often does. Yeah.
What does it mean to realize emptiness?
That's a big question. You'll have to come to a class.
Okay,
Not yet.
great question.
Yeah, it is a big question. So it's just, but this idea of understanding reality. Are you playing?
No, it's just opening the.
Are you ready to get to the end, huh?
No, I was just opening the PDF to make sure I have it. So I have it open when you get to that part. Yeah.
Just teasing.
Oh.
It's just, you see, it's just visible. Oh, anyway. Okay. We don't see things as they actually exist. Did you have a question a minute ago? Did I see a hand? Okay. Um, it's like this mistake of thinking that if I take care of the me, that's the way to happiness. And it never is the way to happiness. It may be the way to get to getting, but that doesn't necessarily mean getting to happiness. It's this false thing that we fall for again and again and again. This idea that somehow putting ourselves first will somehow help us in some way. What does putting ourselves first actually do? What's one of the obvious consequences?
It's others below us.
It puts others not first. And and da da da. And how many are you? How many are others? 8 billion people. We won't even include all the animals, the insects, and the fish, and all the other sentient things.
Yeah. But Buddha, he had to concentrate on himself, on his suffering and whatever, in order to get to the point where it rippled out to all of us.
It didn't ripple out to all of us. He learned the method because he started exactly like us.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. So yes, we have to work on ourselves to get there, but what do we have to work on? Letting go of that self. Recognizing there's no self to hold on to. There's just a series of moments. And we can learn to take charge of those moments from in our inner world. We can't take charge of what externally arises, but we can take charge of how we respond to it. And if we respond with, let me see if others need help here. Let me see what I can do for others. If that's our first instinct, everybody gets taken care of. This is, it's like if you make the decision not to harm anyone, everyone is safe around you. So these are so this is how we can be, that's the direction we want to chase. And we're not, it's not an easy road. We have this strong habit of, but you see people who endanger their physical being every day in order to help others. All the wildfire fighters, all the, every emergency, what do you call them? Yeah, those guys. So we can set that aside. Everybody's done it. If they've raised small children, they've done something for that child that may have put themselves at risk. You did it for a dog. This woman's here with this big bloody hand, bleeding to death. What's she doing? She's driving her dog to the emergency room. Did she drive herself first to the emergency room? No. This is something we can develop. Mm-hmm. And we know we can develop because we've all seen ourselves do it in some way, some small way, some big way, whatever. But we come with this ability, that's cool. This is a very nice thing. This is something worth appreciating and rejoicing in, because we all have these wonderful qualities. They're there. They can be suppressed by worries. They can be suppressed by self-loathing. They can be, suppressed by this idea that somehow, you have, because you just believe you have to take care of yourself first because nobody else is going to take care of you, all those attitudes, so but we can overcome those by recognizing they don't make any sense. They're not true, you know. So worry ultimately is saying that somehow you should be able to control everything. Well, good luck with that. You know, it's not a fact. You know. You know, you do some problem solving, you go, nope, don't find a solution. So you move on. And then maybe some new thing comes up and you go, oh, now I have a solution to that. You know, worry isn't that. And it's like you said, it suppresses our thought. You know, it's like it preoccupies the mind, and that is an obstacle to us being able to look outward. You know, when we need help, you know, if we don't have this habit of looking outward, we think we have to stand on a ladder all by
Oh, comes full circle.
it all comes full circle. Yeah. So there you go. You know, so this is, you know, these are ways, the more we can give ourselves that you have to think about yourself. Yes, absolutely. In terms of being self-aware, you know, you want to go know what's going on in your mind and da 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 da. In your reaction, you know, I have this very easy thing now of just, you know, this little gut reaction, teeny tiny, but I know exactly where it leads. So as soon as it arises, I can go, okay, you know, watch yourself. You're not reliable now. you're, you know, some disturbing emotion wants to arise. So, you know, caution, you know, it's my little caution sign. So I had it on the ladder, just so you know. The, anyway, so, you know, this awareness of our inner world is really useful. It can give us the clues that we're feeling in danger. It can give us the clues that we might have a solution brewing, you know, that we may have some constructive ideas. So, all right, you ready for it?
Could be, right?
Okay, so now take a moment to rejoice in your efforts of trying to understand different ways of looking at things. Your participation is always welcomed. Now we want to think about how, what our hopes for the world are if we work with our mind. You know, that's the idea of our dedications, is that we don't want it just to be about us. We want, you know, we want a better world. And so working on our minds helps us be one of those people out there that's helping others. And that's helpful. Be redundant. Yes.
42?
4. Could be 246.
246. No,
I think we start
246.
46. Yeah. So 240. So anyway, so rejoice in your efforts. So the merits are our positive potentials that we've placed in our mind stream by our positive ways of thinking, and just even exploring how we might be thinking is positive action, because that's where all the change can happen. So may all beings everywhere, plagued by sufferings of body and mind, obtain an ocean of happiness and joy by virtue of my merits. May no living creature suffer, commit evil, or ever fall ill. May no one be afraid or belittled with a mind weighed down by depression. May the blind see forms and the deaf hear sounds. May those whose bodies are worn with toil be restored on finding repose.
Sorry about that. It did the thing where the page snaps.
Yeah, that's all right. Where are we now?
May the naked find food.
Hungry find food, may the thirsty find water and delicious drinks. May the poor find wealth, those weak with sorrow find joy. May the forlorn find hope, constant happiness, and prosperity. May there be timely rains and bountiful harvests. May all medicines be effective and wholesome prayers bear fruit. May all who are sick and ill quickly be freed from their ailments. Whatever diseases there are in the world, may they never occur again. May the frightened cease to be afraid and those bound be freed. May the powerless find power, and may people think of benefiting each other. For as long as space remains, for as long as sentient beings remain, until then, may I too remain to dispel the miseries of the world. And then page 244 for the long life of His Holiness. In the land encircled by snow mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful Shinri-zi, Tenzin Gyatso, please remain until samsara ends. And then page 234 for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losam father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that's never discouraged. Incomparable Venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss. Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in glory for fortunate disciples. So thank you, everyone. You can probably turn off the recording. So good to see you.
Thank you, Tendron. It was wonderful.